Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Rob and today we are painting Commissar Yarrick. So I think this is going to be a fairly straightforward tutorial for you guys today. There's not going to be an airbrush involved and we're actually going to use quite a lot of enamels products as well. So if you haven't used them before, this might be a great starting point for you. Big thanks to Crusader Games for sending me this model to paint. It's an absolutely fantastic kind of like new rendition on the old classic, and I guess as part of a paired tutorial that I've done this month for the arrival of Armageddon, which has been a Orc tutorial, and then we've got this one, the Commissar Yarrick tutorial as well. So hopefully you'll be able to get some useful stuff out of both these tutorials, even if you don't paint Orcs or if you aren't planning to paint Commissar Yarrick. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is speed paint, metallic speed paints. I don't use these a lot. I've got them all, as they were very kindly sent to me by the army painter, but to be honest, I don't use them a lot. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to give this a whirl. And I used it and I was really impressed. I was impressed by the coverage, but just the concept. Yeah, you hear of metallic speed paint, you're like, is this going to work? And it does really nicely. The edges are highlighted really well. Coverage is good. So can highly recommend, and apart from some enamel washes and a bit of sponge chipping later on, there's not much more we're going to do with this metallic beyond there. So if you're looking for kind of like a one coat metallic, polished silver might be the way to go. So I've base coated it, or I've primed the model in an ivory. You could use a white, whatever kind of like works for you, whatever you have lying around, and then this is obviously our first step. Next up, we are going to be using Satchel Brown, which makes for a great dark leather colour if you've not used it before. I like to pair this with Paratrooper Tan, and that's a great one to kind of like do edge highlights with. Yeah, quite a natural step up. We'll get to the Paratrooper Tan in a bit, but you know, I'm always somebody who's like, yeah, it's good like speed paints and contrast paints, but you know, tell me what you're going to match it with for the edge highlight, and that'll be most useful. And I can highly recommend Paratrooper Tan with this Satchel Brown colour. I also like hardened leather, but I'm of late I've been using a lot of Satchel Brown for leathers. Next up, we're going to do his shoulder pad, his tassely shoulder pads, and we're going to be doing those with maize yellow. And then we're going to wash these in a bit once that's dried. Just add a little bit of warmth to them. You know, just a maize yellow on its own, it can be pretty boring, so added like washes here and there, you know, just to warm it up a bit. It's really useful. Once that's been done, we're going to move on to Slaughter Red now. Now, Commissar Yarrick, basically the inside of his coat and his belt, his sash, I think would be the technical term. His sash, we're going to do in this Slaughter Red colour. They are all this kind of like very dark red, and it's more of a cool red than it is, like a bright, vibrant red Slaughter Red. So we'll need to think about that with our edge highlights as well. Actually, we're gonna, use cool reds rather than something that's a really, striking orange, like say like a fiery vermilion. Or if you use Games Workshop paints, something like an Evil Sun Scarlet. We don't want to go down that route. We want to go something more pinky and cool in tone. After we've done that step, we're going to move on to Grim Black. There's quite a lot of Grim Black on this model, obviously, because his jacket, his coat is all in black leather. But we can also do the bolter casing as well, his storm bolter casing in this black colour. If you feel like it's a bit patchy in places, it's a bit too light in places, then you can always go down with a second thin coat of Grim Black if you feel like you need to. We also do his sword casing in that same black colour as well. Next up, so after the yellow has dried on the shoulder tassels, I'm just using some rust tone here just to give it a bit more of an orangey tone, and that will add some, it will knock back the yellow but just add a little bit of warmth and life into the yellow as well. Right, time for a few details here and there. So we're going to use true copper. This might take 2 thin coats to get good coverage over that silver. And you can just pick out a few places that you want doing in this copper colour. We're going to add a little bit of verdigris a little bit later to it. We're actually going to use a water mixable oil colour. So if you don't want to work with white spirits or Sansador or enamel thinners or something like that, there are water mixable oils on the market. So bear that one in mind. We're going to use those a little bit later for this. The base itself, really simple, really straightforward. We're going to just hit with Gravelord Grey. We'll come back to the end a little bit later, but I do add some kind of like texture paint to the base a little bit later. I don't go through that kind of too much. You know, just choose a dark brown texture paint that you like the look of and slop it onto the base, just leaving some of the stone behind. Really straightforward. Next up, so we're going to use pure red now. So his fist, of course, is taken from an orc, and traditionally you'd see it kind of painted in red, but I wanted it to be kind of worn. The paintwork was starting to fleck away, so rather than kind of hitting it with silver, which we'll do a little bit later, what I'm actually doing is just putting flecks of paint with this red on to show kind of like that it's heavily been worn away, this red paint, during the heat of battle. And if there's places that you can't access with the sponge, you can just go in with a brush and just kind of stipple it on. And this is where we're at to so far. So basically everything's base coated apart from the skin. We'll leave the skin till the very last thing. We don't need to worry about the skin right now, but everything's kind of base coated with our speed paints here. So once that's been done, we're then going to use dark brown wash for green vehicles, which is an enamel wash by Ammo. And then I'm also going to mix into that some oil enhancer. If you're in the UK, Scale Model Shop has oil enhancer. This is the matte version of it, and basically it will speed up the drying time of your oils. Now it's a very, very hot kind of bank holiday weekend at the moment, so this will take no time at all to dry. But yeah, if you're finding that your enamels or your oils are taking a very, very long period of time to dry, then you can just add some of this in and it should be dry in about half an hour to an hour. Okay. Now, what we're going to do with this mix, and this is quite a thin mix, is we're just going to give it an all-over wash. Okay, so that's going to add some definition to our model, more so than just what the speed paints are offering. And then it's going to look a little bit grimy, a little bit dirty, and one might even say a little bit grimdark. Okay. Now we're going to use some shining silver here, and then we're just going to add some kind of scuff marks. We're going to add some battle damage onto the silver here. This is a great alternative instead of adding dry brushing. Just kind of doing this will add some kind of nicks and scratches into the silver. So we need to move on to our red. Now, as I said, we're going to use a cool red here, so something more pinky in tone. So we're going to go with Basilisk Red mixed with some Ice Yellow, probably in about a 2-to-1 mix, so 1 part Ice Yellow and 2 part Basilisk Red. So you've got something cooler because you've got the Basilisk Red, and then we've got the Ice Yellow that makes it desaturated, makes it essentially a bit pinky in tone. All right. This is, for me, always what I would probably highlight word bearers with. If I'm doing like a matte word bearer scheme, I like that kind of like burgundy wine kind of colour. But it isn't everybody's preference. But I think it works quite well on the sash here, and is a point of difference with the red of the fist as well. You've got like an orky red fist, which just uses our pure red, and then the sash is just made up with slightly different material. As I said, Paratrooper Tan, a great coupling colour for Satchel Brown. What I'd love to do in the future is like match a speed paint with its highlight colour. I'd love to do a project like that if I had time. I needed like a full week to kind of like do that properly and show you guys, this is the speed paint, this is what it looks like over a white or an ivory, and this is the natural highlight colour that you would want to use for it. I'd love to do that, but got to find the time, maybe later in the year. You can really see how that wash has also added such definition to our model now. Right, next up we're going to do a little bit of edge highlighting just on this, on the coat, on the leather jacket here. And what we're just going to do, we're just going to work through some greys. Okay, we're going to start at deep grey, we're going to work to uniform grey, and then we're going to go to ash grey. And this is our ash grey, so I'm working quite tight here, just doing small highlights. You know, really hyper small highlights will make it seem more leather, or leather-like, you know, like the light is reflecting off of it. But every time I work through one of these colours, you know, the band of light I'm working in is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Yeah, classic like GW style, right? You do one large highlight, and then the next one goes within that highlight, and then the next one goes within that highlight. Okay, that's the kind of thing that we want to do here. And you can just see I'm just doing some specular highlights here with our ash grey, some points, some corners, just to try and give it the effect that it's a little bit shiny. Next up on our tassels, don't know what the correct terminology would be for these. We're just highlighting with some demonic yellow, and if you want to as well, just at the bottom of these you can add a little bit of ice yellow at the bottom if you want to do kind of like a further highlight. Just be careful, I did slip in between, so I just needed to correct it off camera. You can probably see it on his left side, so just be careful because those kind of tassels are very, very, very small. Right, onto the face now. So we're going to start with a layer of warrior skin. Nothing fancy. And again, if you wanted to just leave it like that, you totally could. Like, if faces are not your thing and you just like, I just want something quick and easy, you could just leave it like that. But warrior skin is a nice colour to kind of use here. I just park that to one side and I let that dry. And while that was drying, I then moved on to the base. So in the next part here, you'll see that I have used a texture paint. I think it's Dark Earth by AK that I ended up using. I left that to dry, and then we're going to add some kind of moss effects to the stone work here. And this is a great way just to add some interest to the stone. And also, again, it gives it that kind of like grimdark vibe, right? You know, the idea that the environment is dark and dingy and dirty. Yeah, we've used a lot of enamels and things like that, but this would be really useful for any kinds of stones, particularly if you're doing like jungle bases and stuff like that. So what you can see here, I'm just using a little bit of a mix between these two. So dark streak and grime, and then our moss deposits from AK. The dark streak and grime is actually from ammo though, so mixing two companies together here. And I'm just applying this over the base, and then as you work it in, you can kind of start to get the vibe of what it's going to look like. I thought at this point it looked pretty cool. And if you just use like pure moss, you know, in patches here and there, it just shows, you know, moss that's kind of more intense. And this will dry super matte, and it will dry a little bit more intense than what it is going down. And I find that this is a great combination and really useful to use on stones. Sandbags, I've been using this a lot for Trench Crusade on the bases. You know, if you think about damp and humid environments, or environments where moss will grow quite quickly, you know, these products are great to kind of like simulate that. You can see here I'm just working in the enamels until I'm happy with it. Right, next up we're going to use Viridian here, which is a water mixable oil colour. So no faffing around with white spirits or anything like that. We just thin it with some water and away you go. Now I would say they're not as good, but they serve the job and do the job for this very, very kind of small kind of verdigris effect that we want. And they do have a relatively low surface tension, probably lower than paint, which is really, really useful. But perhaps I just prefer normal oils and white spirits because I'm used to them. And perhaps if I use these a bit more, I might be able to see some of the more positive benefits. But yeah, if you use them, let me know. But they do dry a lot quicker than normal oils. And you can just see on this hat here, we're just using that same verdigris, or Viridian colour, sorry, to simulate some verdigris. You can make it more intense. You could add a white into this, like a white water mixable oil colour, just to make it more intense, but I just wanted a subtle kind of effect just to show some aging. He's the old man after all. Right, next up, fresh mud. So once the base is relatively dry, we can then use some fresh mud. Thin this just a little bit with some oil enhancer again, just to speed this up a little bit. This I do find takes about 12 to 24 hours to dry if you just use it neat from the bottle. So oil enhancer speeds things up a bit, but I'm using like a matte oil enhancer with something that's meant to dry satin. So you might use the satin version of the oil enhancer, and that might be a little bit better for this product. And it only occurred to me to do that right the second as I've just said it. And then on the leather jacket, you can just do some splashes of mud here and there. And this, as I say, will dry, you know, with a bit of a satin finish, so it kind of looks like fresh mud. So just on the power fist here, we're just going to use a little bit of dry blood. After I did this, I was like, maybe I should have made it green for like orc blood, but yeah, whatever, man. It's all good. Still looks good. Splash on the base, a couple of splashes on the power claw, using a brush where I can't get into. Bob's your ankle, and away you go. Right, onto the face now. Now we're going to start off with barbarian flesh. Pure barbarian flesh, just to do a highlight. I think the warrior skin and barbarian flesh pair quite nicely together, although you could use crusader skin if you've got that, and again it will pair quite nicely together. So this is, you know, this is a relatively easy, straightforward face to do. You know, this isn't going to be winning any golden demons anytime soon, but it is highlighted, and as long as you keep it relatively neat and tidy, like, it will look good on the tabletop. And then we're going to use a mix of barbarian flesh and ice yellow. So just add a little bit of ice yellow into there, into that mix, and you can see here we're just doing some specular highlights on the chin, on the nose, on the cheek. The light is hitting, and then we'll be all good. And here we go. Here you have it. Commissar Yarrick in all his glory. I think a relatively straightforward tutorial, but a fun little model to do. It is quite small, smaller than I was expecting. The proportions on humans are done really well now, I think, with Games Workshop. They haven't got these massive Cadian heads that we used to have. So yeah, but a really, really nice model. So big thanks to Crusader Games for sending me it. So a couple of big thank yous as well. First of all, thank you guys for watching this video. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. Like, it just helps push the video to people that maybe haven't seen it before. A big thank you to all my patrons. I really, really appreciate your support. A bit of a milestone this month and last month. It's just come over a year since I started the Patreon, and I'm so proud of like the support that I've got, and I'm just, yeah, it's just amazing. It's absolutely awesome. So big thank you to all you guys for supporting me. And if you guys want to support me, just throw me £4. That's all it costs each month to get extra tutorials and early access to the tutorials. Then please go sign up at Patreon. A big thank you to the Army Painter for providing me with all the paints that I used in this video, and a big thank you as well to Crusader Games for sending me the Yarrick model for this tutorial as well. Like, yeah, it's just awesome to have sponsors that just have you back. So big thank you. Make sure you go check them out. I've got promo codes that you can use with the Army Painter flash up that you may have seen flash up earlier, so please use them. Anyway, take care guys, and I shall see you on the next one.